Hi, this is Stephen Beschloss with America, America.
And I'm Mark Jacob with the Stop the Presses newsletter.
And this is on target. So this week we're reminded that Donald Trump is an appalling doctor, right? That this is a guy who we learned obviously before during COVID that he's more than happy to spread disinformation and communicate to the public that he knows better than everybody else. And he did it again, did it in the company of his crackpot Health and Human Services Director, Secretary RFK Jr. And what they were there to talk about was their claim that there's a causal link between acetaminophen and autism. And Trump, really couldn't even sort of say the word. He just kept saying Tylenol and autism, and specifically saying that pregnant women should not take Tylenol because it would be a danger to their babies. And there is a lot of research that does not prove that there is such a causal link. There have been many, many, many studies that have shown exactly that. Nothing that is definitive to say that there is a causal link. And they went on this stage, with the platform of the White House to at a time that they had no new data, they had not a single new scientific study. It was really a chance for Trump in particular to just vent about what he thinks and feels, and said over and over and over, don't take Tylenol. A dangerous thing. And, we looked at a whole number of interesting and I think important stories sort of on both what happened on Monday this week, but also what sort of the issues are at play. Mother Jones has a particularly good one that we would sort of urge people to pay attention to. But specifically in that story, there was a quote from that's the American College of obstetricians and gynecologists who really emphasize that this press conference and this attempt to make this causal link is utterly irresponsible.
Well, and as you said, Trump is not the person to be delivering this message. He like you remember Stephen. He said, "Well, I know more than the generals." So he thinks he's an expert at everything, and he's not an expert at this. He doesn't know anything about it. And this like, if no, take Tylenol, fight like hell not to take it. I mean, even the person who's the researcher whose study is cited by some people to say that there might be some problem with Tylenol is urging pregnant women to use Tylenol. That researcher says, use it in the smallest effective dose you can use it because it's actually dangerous not to take any
Right.
drugs. If you've got a fever and you're pregnant, it's dangerous. You need to be, get the fever down. And so he's giving quack advice. This is the president of the United States giving advice that is dangerous to Americans' health. It's ridiculous. And then you get RFK Jr., who just twists the whole idea of what autism is. Stephen, here's something he said a while back. These are kids who will never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job. They'll never play baseball. They'll never write a poem. They'll never go out on a date. Well, that's not true. I mean, autism is a spectrum, and some
Yes.
people manage it fine and have perfectly productive lives. And so for him to twist it and act like, and then you have Trump saying, well, we're not going to let it happen anymore. Well, a lot of people think that autism is genetic. So
Right.
so how are you going to not make it happen anymore? I mean,
Right.
this is quack science.
And can we just say, I mean, look, it helps not to have a simpleton in the White House who's looking for simple solutions to incredibly complicated topics. As you say, I mean, this is a condition, a disease that is both genetic and may have environmental factors. And these guys are trying to reduce it to one causal link, and discouraging potentially millions of pregnant women from taking the basic thing that helps them to deal with a high fever. Not only puts them in danger, it puts their baby in danger. This is, look, we saw it before. I mean, I don't know about you, I'm still carrying an awful lot of residue anger over the deadly uh, uh, con job about COVID, and specifically advocating for people to take, ivermectin and clean out their bodies with bleach
Right. Or
or
put light in your
ultraviolet
body.
rays.
Yeah.
I mean, we're dealing with somebody who is demented. And unfortunately, we can't stop these press conferences from happening, but the least we can do is sort of speak out as clearly as we can, so that maybe some people who are inclined to be influenced by them might not be.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that most of the news coverage was pretty good about saying this is unfounded or goes against what experts say, but they did it fairly quietly. And then you have the right wing disinformation industry acting like this is real advice. I Stephen, people are going to die because of what Trump and
Yeah.
RFK Jr. are doing right now. Americans are dying because of that, and they're not getting their vaccinations they should. I mean, this couldn't be worse. We're just in front of our eyes. We're seeing the top government officials give people bogus advice that's going to make them sick.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, the press conference was largely focused on Tylenol, but as you suggest, it was also providing, yet more advocacy not to be taking vaccines,
Right.
and we're frankly, we're one epidemic or the arrival of one extreme situation from a catastrophe, and I hope we can survive until there's somebody less of a simpleton in the White House.
Yeah, let's hope for that. Thanks,
All
Stephen.
right. All right, Mark. We'll see you next time.